Welcome to Xero Hero, a short video blog from HBA Encompass aimed to make your Xero journey easier. Please note that all the slides today have been created from existing Xero training videos. Xero has rapidly changed in the past few years, so sometimes the pictures are using old screenshots or overseas versions. Where possible, each session is followed up by a live video demonstration. If you have any queries regarding any content delivered today, feel free to contact me via email victoria@hbaencompass.com.au or phone 0754 44 7094. Welcome to Employee Setup. Sorry, but this is also a long one. So what we're going to do there is we're going to put their details in, put in their tax file declaration, choose their super fund, and then, all things being equal, as it says here, pay will be calculated correctly and efficiently. It's a matter of clicking on employees. Just a side note, you can see at the top here that there is a little video. So if you do get stuck and want a reminder, then it's a matter of clicking on that and it'll tell you or remind you how to get. There is also Xero Payroll help as well. So we go in and under the payroll tab, we click add an employee. This, where it says here no employees added, add one. Once you have a few, that button actually disappears. So you need to go to the right hand side to add an employee. It's pretty self-explanatory. Their name, their email, their date of birth, their gender, postal address, phone numbers, and their Twitter account. I don't know why you'd want their Twitter account, but it's in there. And then when we're finished, we hit save. What it does then is it creates a page with tabs along the bottom. So we're just going to work our way along each of these tabs the same way that we did in setting up our payroll settings, the same way as basically anything that's newly set up in Xero works. So we go in, we put their start date, their classification if they have one, we pick their payroll calendar. If you've got groups in there, we click their group and we put in their hours or their earnings rate. So as you can see here, there's click down buttons for everything there that's going to assist you. Some staff, depending on their role, may be authorised to approve leave, which means they can approve leave requests for other staff, and they may be authorised to approve timesheets. So generally it's possibly your bookkeeper or your admin person that would do that. Once we've done that, so you only tick them if you want it, then we go in and we add a super membership. We click on it and we hit save. The next thing we do from there is their tax declaration. So all of us have had one of those nice red TFN declaration forms. Technically, the employee is still meant to fill in one of these and you're meant to keep it, but you can actually lodge that form electronically through Xero and through the ATO portal without having to mail the actual form in. We put in their tax file number or their exemption, which most people don't have, their employment basis, which is either full-time or part-time, and then we click whether they're Australian residents, whether the tax-free threshold's claimed, whether they have a HEX debt, all the things that are actually ticked on the red form. If you're happy, you can hit save only, so you may know that you've got part of the details but you're waiting on the form or something like that. Best practice is not to pay them until you get the paperwork, otherwise you'll never get the paperwork. But in reality, sometimes people get paid without the paperwork. What you can do is when you're happy with it, is you actually click on the File Now button and it'll just zip straight through to the ATO. Also, one thing here is eligible to receive leave loading. So if people do get leave loading on their holiday pay, you need to tick it here because it affects the tax schedule when Xero calculates its PAYG calculations. The leave tab, which is the next one, is where the actual leave applications are made. Now we're going to get through this when we actually look at posting a pay run, but the leave application can either be added manually by the people with payroll access, if you've got some way of collating leave, or it can be applied for manually through the employee portal by the employee. The important thing here is that if you don't have a leave application under leave and it's not approved, when you go through to your payroll, you can't manually put the leave in, which the first time you go to do it will drive you insane, and after that you remember, that's right, I need to go back to leave applications and pop it in that way. The next one here is their bank balances. So we can add up to 3 bank details for our employees. Now, the reason we would have the bank details here is when we actually process payroll, we can download what's known as an ABA file, which then gets uploaded into your internet banking and then just shoots the payroll amounts out to each employee, which means that you don't have to go into internet banking and retype it all. So saves dramas with transpositions and stuff like that. So from that point of view, you need to have the details of what it is. Now, this statement text, you can make it whatever you want. You could have it wages from ABC or whatever it happens to be. The account name, it's the BSB, and the account number is obviously very important. But here you can click either a percentage or a dollar amount or leave it at what's remaining. So you might find here that Sarah Smith wants to put $50 a week into her savings account and the balance goes into her normal bank account for spending, or she might want to put 10% away or something like that. So that can vary from employee to employee. The standard is just one bank account, unless I suppose the employee comes to you to ask for it to be changed. But just know that you can have a maximum of 3 bank accounts that are here. So once we've set up the employee, their employment details, their tax declaration, their leave and their bank balances, then we go in and set up a pay template. So it's just a matter of working down these lines here and going in and filling out the information. So firstly, we click an earnings rate. Now, that might be either ordinary hours or annual salary. And you can see here that automatically the expense account, wages and salaries comes up. You can't change that account there. If you want to change it, you need to go back into your payroll settings for ordinary hours and change it. We then put in what their standard hours per week are and what their annual salary is. Then we go down to deductions. So we put what it is, social club, fixed amount, or if it's a pre-tax percentage or a post-tax percentage. So you might find that someone might want to put an after-tax super contribution in, or a pre-tax super contribution in, so salary sacrifice. So you would click either post or pre in there. Then we add the superannuation line. So the amount that's here, don't fret on that one. I'll come back to that one in a sec as we go through. This is still looking at the deduction amount. We go through to super. So the super fund comes up automatically because it's set up when we set up their template. We then pick what type of super it is. So if it's your SGC, your super guarantee contribution, always click the statutory rate, because what that means is as the government change the percentages, when you go to the first pay of that next year, Xero will automatically change that rate. You don't have to physically go and change it from 9.25 to 9.5 or 10 or whatever it happens to be. The minimum monthly earnings at the moment is $450. The expense account is super and the liability is super payable. You can change them if you want, but generally there's no benefit in doing it. We then say how often we're going to pay this super and the payment date. Super guarantee is always paid 28 days after the end of the quarter. So this is assuming here, because we're looking at August, that it's going to be the September quarter and due the 28th of October. You can add more superannuation funds in there as well if you need to, but obviously any additional super wouldn't be your super guarantee. It would just be an additional payment from there. You'd go in and add your reimbursements if you've got a standard reimbursement, and then we go in and add leave. Now, you need to physically add leave to every employee that's going to accrue leave, which should be all employees. So we drop the button down and we click what type of leave it is, and then you have 3 options. We either enter the rate in the pay template, we calculate the rate on a fixed amount, or we calculate the rate based on ordinary earnings. If you've got people who just have a set amount that you know that they have a standard wage, no overtime or anything like that, then you would click it on the fixed amount each period. If you have people whose wages change from week to week or fortnight to fortnight, then you would calculate it on ordinary earnings. So it means if you've got a part-time employee, they're going to accrue a pro rata of the standard full-time equivalent. So the full-time equivalent here is working on hours. So there may be some difference for different awards, but generally we look at the straight work choices rules, which is 160 hours for a full-time person, and then we look at what their actual fortnightly pay period is. So if someone works a 38-hour week, that's not going to be 160, it's going to be 38 by 4, and the hours here, if it's weekly or fortnightly, will be 38 or 76. And the last thing we do is we set our opening balances. So if we're transferring across to Xero partway through a financial year, we can put everyone's opening balances at a set date that we're going to start their payroll and put the opening leave and the opening earnings in. So when we go to print a PAYG summary at the end of the year, it's got the full year. Otherwise, you have Xero balances for the income and print a PAYG summary out of perhaps MyOb and then out of Xero, but you've got more chance you're going to have errors if you don't bring it all into the one system. The other thing here is you can actually add notes on the employee here. These notes are visible to people with payroll access only. It doesn't show up when the employee comes in through the employee portal. So looking at employees first, so it comes up with a list of all the employees. If you click on the employee person at the tabs that we were talking about before, so their name, their employment details, their taxes, their leave, their pay template. So the pay template is generally the standard pay that they get paid week to week. So this person here works ordinary hours for 38 hours a week on a salary of $40,000. They have deductions for union fees. They have HESTA super for their super guarantee, but then they pay an extra $50 a pay period as a salary sacrifice. So you can do it as much or as little as you want. They are eligible for annual leave and personal or carers leave. Their bank accounts, he's got a savings account, and then the balance goes to his normal pay. My name's Victoria Berry. I'm one of the directors of HBA Encompass. So if you need to contact me, my email address is victoria@hbaencompass.com.au, or of course our phone number is 0754 44 7094. Thanks for listening.